Hey guys, greetings and salutations. Here again at the park that I always love coming to, really close to my house, Wilderness Park here in the city of Downey. Like I said, not too far from my house. It's Sunday morning today, and I thought I'd shoot some videos, and I thought I would change it up a little bit with this one video. I actually just wanted to address my first time that I really just felt real genuine heartache from a relationship. I think that I often talk about relationships. I love talking about the Christian faith. I love talking about relationships from a Christian perspective, and often there's a lot of people that approach me and they say, well, James, how do you know about any of these things? Or you never been married, you never really dated, what's your story? So I thought I would just start off by just really sharing in this video just one story, really just addressing my past when it came to my very first relationship. So sit back, have a little popcorn. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. But yeah, it was just a very valuable lesson that I learned with this this whole situation. So I like to just get right into it. When I was 26, I'm 39 right now, but when I was 26, I actually had the privilege of dating my very first girlfriend. Now, most people, probably watching this video, most of you started dating much earlier, Some people at 16, some people at 12, some people in the early 20s, but it was my mid-20s when I actually had my very first girlfriend. And I have to say, for my first relationship, I was very proud that I had a beautiful, attractive, and I'm talking about, physically attractive lady. She really, had a strong mind when it came to just, her, the academia. She was really involved in school. She really, was interested in joining, the police force and things like that. And I really thought, for the most part, this was an awesome lady to connect with. And I seen she has some type of religious background. And at the time, I really didn't have a standard in regards to what type of woman I was looking for. And I'm not even sure if I was really a genuine Christian at the time. I just knew I adopted a lot of religious ideas at the time. I did consider myself a Christian, but I didn't really follow any of those things, the precepts of what the Bible teaches, the tenets of biblical Christianity. I really didn't implement that in my life at all. I just wanted to be a good person. I really wanted to be a good father one day, and I just went with that. So what's interesting is that there was a time when I was working in the field of working with children early on, and I think I was maybe almost 10 years into this field. So I started very early in my life. Very early. But I met this lady. I was at a school. It was a public school for children in the preschool setting, and I was working at this very large site for children. We had about maybe 6 classes that would 6 to, I don't know, maybe 8 classes that would actually be at this school. And it's like, there was a morning session and there was the afternoon session. And this teacher, who I found very attractive, I would kind of get to know her gradually. And over time we started spending time together, even me visiting, her house where she was with her family. And she was also maybe a year older than I was. Very attractive, like I said. She had a sports car, with the drop top, so she was always attracting attention. Anytime she went anywhere, I'm telling you, even when it was just going into work, she always put on some very nice outfits, and she stood out. It didn't matter if she was dressed up all the way, or if she was just, really not trying to show off too much, but she always looked nice with everything she had. And so it was just one thing about her that men were just attracted to her, and a lot of ladies really were, I'm going to say, envious of her, just because she was, a very, lean, like I said, very lean, a Salvadorian woman. And if I remember correctly, she came to this country around 12 years old, so her English wasn't perfect, but, she could communicate perfectly fine, And she was somebody that was very ambitious as well. She had very big dreams for her life, and at the time, she really never cared for marriage. She talked about it, but, So I remember over time, we started to actually get really close, and I'll never forget, one time she invited me, and I had some car issues, so me being one of her best friends, and this is something that she labeled me as at the time, she called me her best friend, and me at the time, what I was doing is pretty much what most guys do. You stay in the vicinity of a lady that you're attracted to and just hope that the opportunity presents itself, and actually, to some extent, it did work out for me that way. She invited me one Friday, I remember, to some type of gathering with other co-workers to go to some bar in Hollywood. Now at the time, like I said, I wasn't a Christian, so I was open to going to these kind of places, you know. And I remember I went there, and the plan was for her to hang out with me over there. She was gonna drop me home, and then she was gonna go back to the bar, because across the street there was some type of concert of this Latin, you know, Latin group that, you know, her and her friends were going to, you know, go and hang out and check out. And they had tickets for themselves, but there was no ticket for me. So I let it be, and I just figured, okay, at least I get to hang out with her and, you know, and have some fun, right? Just chill, you know, we were hanging out. And so I noticed that, first off, one of the things that I should have seen as a red flag is she was not comfortable drinking alcohol around me, since I wasn't somebody who drank alcohol. I didn't really care for drinking alcohol. I didn't have the desire for it. I didn't like the smell. I just didn't care for it. And I don't like the way it sweats off people as well. I just never had the desire for alcohol. I still don't. You know, and it really wasn't so much about the whole drunk and, you know, getting drunk aspect. That was an inconvenience as well, but I just never had the desire for it. You know, it just never tasted well or smelled, you know, appealing to me. What was interesting is that I remember being at this bar, she started buying me drinks, and I remember for the very first time I felt the buzz experience. The first and only time I really experienced it. And I remember, you know, she kept giving me some type of shots and stuff like that. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the stuff I was consuming. But after about 2 or 3 of these things, I remember being dazed, and I was completely out of it. I was completely out of it. And I remember just for about 20 minutes or so, I really didn't even feel comfortable standing up. So I just stayed, you know, I just sat down, and I just hoped and wished this experience just left me, you know. But I remember she was complaining all night about one of the guys that was appealed by her and was interested in her. And I remember being so envious of listening to her talk about this guy over and over again when I was the one that wanted to be with her. And eventually, as she started to get drunk and as she started to get really tipsy, she started leaning on me and gradually started to actually hug on me and then started kissing me. So in my head, you know, being very naive at the time, not only with the Christian faith, but even just having a correct understanding of relationships between men and women, I should have known this was not a healthy way to start a relationship with anyone. But to me, I seen it as an opportunity for me to connect with her. So I obliged. And I thought to myself, already being very naive, like I said, I thought, wow, I finally have a girlfriend. Thank God. And she's a lovely woman. She's ambitious. I found my wife. And so in my head, I just thought, this was going to be my wife. I remember she became so drunk, just like the other ladies with us, 2 other ladies, so there was 3 total, became so drunk, and it was me and some other guy. One of the ladies had a boyfriend. We basically babysat the ladies all this time, and then they insisted on going to the concert right across the street, completely drunk. And when I mean drunk, I mean like I had to literally carry them into this place. And I guess my friends or the people I was with somehow knew the guy, one of the guards or one of the security in the concert, so they let all of us in, including myself. And we went to this concert. I still don't know to this day what the group was. Probably I'll find out later on another time. But you know, I'm a younger man, 26 years old, never been in an experience like this. And I spent, I kid you not, maybe 2 to 3 hours, and I don't know how long this concert was, maybe 2 to 3 hours, picking up these ladies because they kept sliding on the floor. They were so drunk. They were sliding on the floor, including the lady that I was with, you know. And I'll never forget the lady that I was with, you know, was paired with me, my coworker. You know, she started to kiss me a little bit more, and I thought to myself, okay, well, you know, maybe I'll tolerate this because, you know, at least I'm getting something out of it. You know, that's where my mind was at the time. At least I'm getting something out of this. I'm getting a girlfriend, you know. And in my head, I just thought this is normal. This is something that everyone goes through. You know, you have somebody who's dealing with alcohol to this manner, and then, but there's some people that, you know, they have beautiful families, beautiful lives. So I was very optimistic in such a blindly, a very blind sense of understanding, you know, when it comes to a really legitimate, strong foundation for a relationship to build on. I had no clue what. I just knew this was lady who was pretty, and I wanted to connect with her, and I really enjoyed her, and so that was it. But I'll never forget, after this experience, you know, and like I said, the ladies were literally sliding on the floor. I was picking some of them up. I had to hold some of them together. I remember one of the ladies started flirting with a guy in the crowd, you know, who didn't know her. Lovely lady, you know, she's one of our co-workers or, you know, whomever. And this guy, complete stranger, seen that she was very attractive, seen that she was drunk, and started leading her away, literally, to another part of the concert. Like, he even left and went into the hall with her. And so I actually had to leave my lady that I was primarily hanging out with, the coworker that I'm very close with the other guy that was in our group, so I can go chase after, you know, one of our coworkers that was being led away. And I had to make sure the guy understood, hey, she's with us, don't touch her again. And, you know, I brought her back, and that was it. But just really getting out of this and transitioning to the part that really hurt me. I remember sending her text messages after driving her car all the way, you know, to her house, making sure she was secure and making sure that I was secure as well. I made it home that night as well, safely. She made it home. And I remember texting her all weekend just saying, you know, I was so happy that we finally was able to connect. We were able to, you know, be together finally, you know. I was looking forward to this. It was something very exciting to me, and I just thought to myself, I was on cloud 9. I literally thought I walked into heaven because I finally, like most of us, most of us guys, we desire a lady that, you know, is going to be our companion, that's going to be our friend, that's going to be somebody that we're actually attracted to. So to me, I thought I hit the jackpot. There's this beautiful woman. She looks lovely when she wears her nice outfits, her nice heels. She's ambitious. I thought, man, I hit the jackpot. So I'm texting her all weekend, telling her I can't believe, you know, we kissed finally. I couldn't, you know, I was excited about connecting with her. I thought it was amazing, an amazing time. And I remember we actually went back to work, you know, that Monday. And I remember she couldn't really look at me. You know, she was very uncomfortable around me, and I didn't understand what was going on. I was very confused. And I remember at one time we took the children out for, you know, lunch or recess or something like that. And I remember she and I were cleaning up some of the toys in the yard while the children were being escorted back into all the classes. And she was in a separate class, I was in a separate class. And I remember finally having time to talk to her one-on-one. And, you know, already, like, I considered myself her best friend. That's what she always told me. But now I finally, you know, realized, like, at least in my mind, I was going to transition to be her boyfriend. And she told me something that was very foreign to me that I can honestly say I remember how I felt after I heard it. And she looked at me and she said, well, James, and I could tell by her body language she was about to express something that she wasn't very proud of. And she explained to me and said, well, James, you have to understand that sometimes people say and do things that they don't really mean. That some situations and some things that happen, sometimes it's just temporary. Sometimes it's something that is it's just for the moment. And I realized as she was explaining herself what she was trying to tell me. She was trying to tell me that that kiss and that time that we spent together was not special. It was not something that was going to be ongoing. It wasn't going to be something that was going to manifest into something bigger. And that basically I was under the illusion that this was going to take place. I remember, I remember just looking at her, how uncomfortable she was. And I honestly felt like I could have just, you know, and I'm just going to use this description because this is the only way that I could ever express how I felt. But it almost felt like somebody grabbed some type of metal, steel-plated spear and put it over a fire and stuck it in my chest. That's how it felt. I felt like I had a hole in my chest and I was completely lost. I was lost. I was completely lost. And I remember I was just crushed. And for about 30 days, I couldn't look at her, you know, and we were still around, you know, the same, you know, workplace and things like that. I didn't work immediately with her, so we didn't have to see each other all the time. But anytime we did see each other, she would try to wave, try to hi, you know, try to greet me, or she was texting me and calling me all night, you know, trying to, you know, because we would text and call all the time. And I was just so crushed. It hurt me. It hurt me. It hurt me. And I just couldn't be around her. I could not even, I didn't want to hear her voice. I didn't want to be around her. I didn't want to, you know. And I remember for 30 days, I just ignored her completely. And for some reason, I noticed, you know, even looking back, she actually pursued me the most for 30 days or more because I was ignoring her, that I was trying to live my life without her at that point, you know. And remember, she considered me her best friend at the time, so she was telling me a lot of personal things and a lot of things that, she considered me somebody that she can confide in. But it was so painful for me that I could not look at her. And I remember it wasn't until 30 days or so that our co-workers decided to go to a restaurant, Latin restaurant, and it was one of those restaurants that in the daytime it's a restaurant, but at night it transitions to like some type of nightclub or something. So everyone decided they were going to do that, and I went, and ironically she actually showed up just as early as I did, and she seen me and seen it as an opportunity to finally talk to me directly, and she explained to me that what was going on, and then she was questioning me as well. Why was I behaving the way I was? And I didn't even want to talk to her. I didn't even want to look at her. But I remember my heart became just so soft again by just listening to her voice, because I still had very strong feelings for her. This is somebody that I had admired for years prior to us actually being together. And it was just painful to me to try to continue to ignore her, especially when she's right in front of me. And so I remember she talking to me, and I'm just expressing myself a little bit, and the next thing I know, she's sitting on my lap, she's kissing me again, and that's when we launched into a relationship. And we were with each other for about a year, but what I noticed is over time, she never really seemed to see me as I'm gonna say a potential husband. It was, and I'm not trying to, I wanna be very mindful with my words, because I don't wanna sound like I'm throwing her under the bus, but I remember it felt like dating me for her was just a sport. It wasn't really something that she was leading up to. It wasn't something that she was actually trying to build something with me in the relationship. It was almost like we were just seeing each other just to see each other. I do also remember that for the year that we were with each other, it was just a year, that not once did she ever introduce me as her boyfriend, with her family, with her friends, with other co-workers, with anybody, college friends. She never introduced me as her boyfriend. And I remember being so insecure at the time that I just tolerated it. I tolerated it. And this is one of the reasons why I'm very passionate about a lot of the things that I share when it comes to relationships and things like that, because I think it's very easy for us to slip into practices like this that are unhealthy, especially when we are insecure. We're not confident about whom it is we are. So it's very easy to be taken advantage of, but we did last for about a year, but she was breaking up with me every 2 months, it seems like. So it was always me, going to her house and pleading with her to be with me, to forgive me. And often it wasn't really much of anything that I would do, but it just seemed like she didn't really care. And I think the very last time I just realized that this was going to be a pattern, and I stepped away and I didn't pursue after, she was expecting me to come back in her life and things like that, and we kind of made our, went our separate ways. Years later, we did kind of keep in contact, and I did help her with a lot of college assignments and stuff like that. Went to her house, hung out with her family, but as far as the romantic aspect, that was out the door. She did eventually get married, and I don't want to sound like, again, I don't want to sound like I'm throwing her under the bus, but she did, realize that time was burning and running out for her. So around the time, maybe a little over 40, she realized that she couldn't really entertain the idea of having these unrealistic expectations. So she ended up marrying a guy that, she was kind of like, also kind of goofing off with. And it was very strange, because I almost feel like, to some extent, from what I seen from afar, she was behaving the same way with him as she did with me many years ago when she was still in her 20s. She was kind of leaving him at a distance, misleading him, and he was always trying to pursue her. And she was kind enough to share some of these details with me, and I thought, wow, that was just it was just sad to see that it didn't appear like she was growing, but she did actually marry the guy. I think, again, my opinion is that she realized she didn't have any more time to play around. She was getting older, opportunities were closing, and the way that men pursued her in her 20s was not the way that they were pursuing her now. Of course, her metabolism changed, so she started picking up weight a little bit, so things were different. But I just wanted to share that. I mean, if anything, I will say that I've learned a lot from that one situation. There are other situations I've learned from, but I've learned a lot from that one situation. Which type of woman not to pursue. And this is one of the reasons why I really encourage men and women not to really go based on looks or even just desperation, but actually find somebody of quality that you can actually live the rest of your life with. Somebody that you're not only physically attracted to, but also mentally, emotionally, and most importantly, spiritually. One of the verses that I always keep in mind, and I'm always sharing this, is Proverbs 31:30. Charm is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. That's my number one priority when it comes to finding a partner. Does the woman love God? And if I find that for all of the healthy relationships that I'm friends with couples, friends with people that are, doing it right, I noticed that that's the one common thing that they have in common, is they both understood that God has to be the priority. And so please do yourself a favor as well, men or women out there that are single. If you are going to pursue a relationship, or you are going to open yourself to a relationship, make sure you are pursuing somebody who loves the Lord. All right. God bless you guys. Thank you for checking this out. Hope it wasn't too long and boring. All right. Peace.